friends. This is Stacey Sade with Annestasis, and we are having another session of the Annestasis podcast where we talk about life transformation that happens after a relocation. And if I sound all giddy and happy, it is because I am. I get to have the privilege, we get to have the privilege of listening to a friend that I have known in 5 different ways over a long period of time. This is Kim Heathcott, everybody, and I want to introduce you to her. Kim is a former entrepreneur. She is a current consultant. She is a banker. She is an author. She is a mother, and she is incredibly inspiring as a human being. And we bring her here today because Kim had a relocation that caused quite a transformation in her life. And it inspires me, and I guarantee you it's going to inspire you as well. And we wanted to hear her story. So we'll give a moment and just unpack Kim's story. And we will do this after this break. Welcome back, everybody. We are talking to Kim Heathcott today, who is going to be with us and talk to us about her transformation. Kim, welcome to the Annestasis podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Stacey. I'm thrilled to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so everybody, this is the deal. Facebook pops up. The year is 2020. I've known Kim as we actually met. I don't even remember if you remember how we met. We met waiting for a cake by that lady that made us all sit at a gas station.
Yes, at the Exxon gas station for our children's birthday party cakes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was the cruelest of cruel. There was this fabulous baker, and she was amazing, and she would make these cakes for a deal, and all of us as mothers would have to meet her at the Texaco at whatever.
Yes.
And we would sit there in our car, and she would come and she would hand out these cakes like it was an illegal drug deal on some,
Yes.
side street somewhere else. And all we were doing was getting birthday cakes.
Yes.
That's the first time I met you.
Oh, I don't remember that. Too funny.
That is too funny. Well, that's how I would say we met as a mother, but later on we met in different ways. So I saw you on Facebook, and you had posted a beautiful picture of yourself. But basically what it was Kim was standing on a rooftop.
Yes.
And behind her was the Dallas skyline. And it was more than just Kim was taking a trip. What I saw in the picture was confidence, life change. You looked amazing. Your health had changed, your face had changed, everything had changed about you. And what it looked like to me was a very empowering moment that you are not only posting a picture, you were dropping a statement.
I was broadcasting my message, my new Kim.
Your new Kim. Well, I saw it. I was inspired. I'm going to be quiet now, but talk to me about what was the event that or life changes that preceded this or caused you to make a move from Memphis, Tennessee to Dallas, Texas?
Well, we all have identities and you mentioned some of mine at the outset, but I had just come off of 10 years of being tremendously immersed in an identity of being a woman-owned business entrepreneur. And it had really shut down a lot of my other identities as friend, as Bible study leader. Really, I had even mother in a way, because this was a company that started and was all consuming, and it was almost like a third child. And it was so intense from a personnel standpoint, from a business standpoint, that a growth standpoint, that it really drew all of my energy, everything that I had. And that was 10 years of my life. And there was a lot of repercussions from that impacted my own self-care, my family dynamics, my relationships with others, and it had a domino effect. And what happened 10 years later was that I walked away from significant identities. I walked away from the business. My marriage dissolved. So I was no longer married after 24 years. And my children were grown. So I wasn't a caregiver. And I had decided that those changes were so significant that in order to start over, it almost necessitated a move in a different place. And that move was in the pandemic. And so really, it when I sold my business, it was March 5th, 2020. And
Wow.
so a couple months later, I left kind of under cover of darkness. Everybody was just shut down. So nobody knew what happened. Nobody knew that I left my community, just other than closest family. So probably 4 to 6 months later, after I had regrouped and recovered and figured out a few things about what my life was going to look like, and after taking care of myself, which was very much needed and had put that on a hiatus, it was a beautiful day. That was my apartment building. And as you said, as I needed to not only let people know where I was, but I was ready. I was ready for people to know where I was and that I was in a new place and I was in a good place. And so that is the picture. And so the essence of what I was trying to communicate, you saw.
It was beautiful and so powerful. I would love to ask a question. You mentioned that from the time you moved, my gosh, you moved on. If you sold the business on the 5th, didn't the world shut down, on the 12th or something?
Yes, 1 week later. I had already booked my travel plan and I had dreamed up, I had purchased 6 months in this travel. I was going to travel the world. I was just going to find myself and all sorts of experiences. And here I was completely, the world just shut down. And actually, it was the best thing that happened because it needed to be a quiet time and a quiet time when I focused on myself. And so it was a little bit of a lonely time because everybody was so shut down. But I had a few outlets. It wasn't travel abroad, but it was some things that were handed to me that helped me along my journey in kind of coming to a new place and a new identity and being peaceful and happy with that.
I love that. So there is this 4 to 6 months that you mentioned. What was the process like? So you've had the impetus. The impetus is you're walking away from identities. The kids are fine. The company business that you gave birth to is 10 years old now and able to walk on its own and had a new life ahead of it. What did the process look like outside of the pandemic and with the pandemic? What was your process like for that 4 to 6 months that you were really trying to get your feet underneath you?
Well, I had free time on my hand because because of the circumstances, and I needed some time to figure out what was the next step in career. So I can recall one of the things that I found was this Yale class that had gone online that became just one of the most popular courses that they ever did on finding happiness and what happiness means. And so I started doing this course, and I started spending a lot of time walking outside, just doing the things that the course talked about, which was that happiness is in your perspective, in your gratitude, in exercise, in experiences, really not things. And so I embraced that that course while just slowing down and taking some time to reflect on finding myself again, getting healthy, and just appreciating for where I was and gathering kind of strength to see where my career was going to take me next, what I wanted to do, how I was going to connect in a new community. But it was very quiet because of the circumstances of the pandemic. But those were some things that I did. And, I found some other authors about getting back to happy. And I was like, oh, I want to find happy. So just listening to a lot of coaching and encouraging motivational material to just absorb in what I needed for me at the time.
I love that. And you're talking about Yale University has this wonderful course that everybody was very excited about finding happiness, which is what you decided to do. What about the physical relocation as far as just getting your stuff to Dallas? Was that hindered at all by the pandemic? I mean, getting the things on the truck. I mean, did you know what you were taking? Did you know where you were going to live when you got there?
Well, I'm a big proponent of that God is in control of all details.
That is 100% true.
Yes. And it was just so crazy at the time because I had thought that I might move to Dallas earlier in the year. And so I had gone and toured an apartment that I thought was nice. And so when I made the decision to move, you couldn't tour anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I called the complex and they said, oh, we're having an 8 weeks free. And I said, well, what about, I toured this apartment. They said, oh, it's available. You can actually rent the exact apartment that you toured, that you loved, with the beautiful downtown skyline that you can see. And so then I thought, well, okay, how am I supposed to get my things there? Well, my friend had a friend in the moving business. She booked me a truck. And then I thought, well, my biggest problem is that I have a house for sale in Memphis. Well, at that time, everybody was terrified. And I just put it on the market. So what am I going to do? I have this house. How am I going to do that? And so I called my builder and I said, I need to move to Dallas. Am I able to rent my house? And he said, well, you actually are. And coincidentally, there was a doctor that's renting a house next door to you and has to move out. And she called me 1 hour ago and asked me if she knew of another home that she could rent that was comparable. And so I reached out to her. She came and toured my house, and we had a handshake deal a couple of hours later. So it just all worked. It all came together very fast. And that, to me, that is a very much a validation. When circumstances come together and you just see God's hand all over that, it's just, this was meant to be. I just trusted in the process and it all worked out. And 2 weeks later, I was sitting on the balcony of my home looking at the Dallas skyline.
Wow. That is so, it's miraculous on so many levels.
It
on a
is.
normal day, it would have been miraculous in the midst of the new pandemic.
Yes.
Before anybody knew anything.
Absolutely.
That is truly a vision of validation, and you were where you were supposed to be. I love that. So there's the process of what you had to go through, and messy and tired. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm going through a period like that, I'll sleep for long stretches. I don't know. Do you experience times like that where you get up and you go, okay, that's a lot of day. I'm going to go back to bed now.
I had to be kind of supercharged because I had so much to do. And I know that you're in the moving business. And so there was so much that had to be sent to storage, sent to there. I mean, I just had to be on it. So that does happen, when the adrenaline falls off, but I'm all about a deadline. So I'm hitting my deadline. It has to happen. The trucks were coming.
The trucks were coming. You were going to make that happen. Well, that is wonderful. I can't wait to move into the next segment, which is going to be talking about the rebirth. But let's just take a pause right here. We're talking to Kim Heathcott and her revolutionary, life-affirming move to Dallas, Texas from Memphis, Tennessee. And when we come back, we're going to hear all about what changed and how it changed.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be the journey.
The journey.
New sheriff.
When you leave this planet, leave it in a better shape than you found it.
Right.
And that's kind of how we live.
Watch The Journey on the Kazukia Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Annestasis podcast. We are still talking to Kim Heathcott, consultant, banker, author, mother, and completely reborn individual in a new city with a new residence. Kim, talk to me about what you've seen are the fruits of the time that you spent getting ready in the process, in the pandemic, taking classes, listening to all of these things. What has been the new life that you are stepping into, that you are living now as a result of the changes that you made?
Well, I think that I've been afforded the opportunity to kind of start over. And I think that starting over in that period of isolation just showed me that I want to really be in community and in a relationship, and it can look different from what it was in the past, and being a single person and making your own way. So while it was important for me to reflect and be quiet and still, I have been intentional on rebuilding relationships with friends and people lost during that time when I was just focused on the company and my career, and then forging new places of community. That's what's so encouraging to me, that it's a new place, it's a new town, it's new friends. But just working with what is presented, I reached out and I did a Bible study in my apartment building and met friends that way. And I joined groups, and I reached back into relationships that I had lived in Dallas 25 years before. So I reconnected with people who connected me with professional opportunities that got me my career back going again. And so I think just the lessons are, it's a new experience, it's a new place. Where can I forge new relationships to give this life meaning and purpose? And it's going to look different than it did before, but it can be still as meaningful and significant. And so I, 3-4 years later, have kind of a new community and a new place that has been built over time that I love.
It sounds amazing. So professionally, you got back into banking.
I did. And, that is, I really am grateful for, I feel like that I've had layers of career, and I left a career to take care of my kids. And I think that's one of the things that for women, professional women, that get concerned are, where am I in career? What if I take a pause? Because family and raising your children is important. And it shows me that there you can go back, and it may take some time. And I was able to pick back up and learn skills that had been dormant. And that was fun. So we can continually reinvent ourselves. And and sometimes you just take the next step. And for me, that was getting back in banking. And then we'll see what happens in my career from this point.
I love that. One of the things that you touched on, which is one of the things that I believe, just as sure as the sky is blue, is that we were never meant to live life not in community. We weren't even made that way. And what I heard you say in your story was that you actually started to create old community, new community, but still in the midst of a pandemic, still formed community around you as you continued to move forward. And I think that is extraordinary. Out of all your experiences, how is the children are grown? My gosh, we've moved so far past the birth cake stage. Tell me, how has your relationship with your kids been in this new season of life?
Well, I love having grown children. And actually, I have one grown child that's moved back in with me. So I have a roommate as a daughter, which has been fantastic. And it's a whole different dynamic, but it has just been amazing. They were such a part of the story of the company, and that was formulated out of their childhood and kind of was impactful in their teenage years and life. And so I think that, we all just have a different relationship. I'm at the phase where I'm just watching them and they're making choices. And my role is just an encourager. I try not to dispense too much unsolicited advice. And just watching to see how their lives unfold, which is a great place to be.
That is a great place to be. And you took all of your life experience and you have created something brand new. Would you like to share with us what that is?
Absolutely. That running of the company and being a woman entrepreneur was a significant part of my life. And so in my reflection and time away from that, I thought to myself, well, I don't know that I'm ready to start another company, but I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, had a lot of success. I had failures, and I was a model at the time for being one of the largest women-owned business in Memphis for several years running. And I had a lot of accolades. And I think a lot of people might have said, wow, her life is perfect. Look what she's done. Look what she's accomplished. Well, there was a lot of under the engine of hardship and struggle. And I think that allowing other people to see the good, the bad, the ugly of a journey could encourage others as well. And so after some reflection, I thought, I just want to chronicle that. Chronicle not only how I was able to scale and build a business to national acclaim, but also what were some of the things that I did wrong? What were some of the things that I learned that I could have done better? And what are my takeaways from that might help other small business women, minority entrepreneurs, which is kind of my passion. And so I thought I really want to put that in a book. And so I've spent the past year writing that. And it is being published on Amazon, independent bookstores. And I am thrilled. It's called Pinnacle View. And the whole point of it is that when our business is on a trajectory and you're climbing a mountain, there's going to be setbacks. But then if you get up at the top, sometimes it's not what you thought the view would be. And you may need to regroup or reassess. And you may need to even come down the mountain, which is what actually I did. So that is what I've taken away from my experience, that ultimately I hope that it will help others in their journey.
Well, I guarantee it is. From personal experience, I have been in the audience of you receiving accolades. I have been one of the many people thinking, she's got it all together. This must be amazing. I am also what I call I had no idea I'd be a entrepreneur. So I call myself a reluctant entrepreneur. It's really not true, but I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I remember different pearls of things that you said during your journey that now are meaningful to me. So I'll tell you, I was inspired by you then. I am entirely inspired by you now. And I can't wait to read this book at the time that we're recording this. It's not out yet. It's in pre-order, but tell me how the world can get your book and just sit at your feet and find out what were all the things, good, bad, and indifferent, that made you the person you are today and caused this journey. And now you're in this journey.
Well, the easiest way is on Amazon, and it is in ebook and paperback form. And but I have it is available at independent bookstores as well, Walmart.com. And so if you Google Pinnacle View by Kim Heathcott, I'm sure you can find it at a convenient place for you to get it. And hopefully my heart is that it will help you in some way, either personally or professionally. Because as much as I talk about the business, I talk about myself, personality, burnout, self-care, and boundaries, which are all things that I learn from and that we can all learn and grow as well.
I love that. It is true that the entrepreneurial journey is fraught with workaholism.
Yes.
It is fraught with fear and sleepless nights and financial insecurity and scarcity and all the things that keep us on a hamster wheel. I love you sharing the fact that is not necessarily always the best way to be. I certainly needed to hear that today. I stay on, and sometimes I take a moment from the hamster wheel, and I'm glad to do it. Kim, you did not disappoint, as I knew you would not. And I am grateful for your heart and your time and your experience that will no doubt continue to inspire me and all the people listening today to know that it's not a linear path. It is not a straight up shot. And the pinnacle is not always the pinnacle.
Exactly.
And I love that you're sharing that with us. Thank you for your time today. I am, again, just overwhelmed with gratitude for your personhood and your friendship, and can't wait to see what the second book and the third book is. I know once you get the bug, you will have lots more that you want to be telling us. We will wrap up this session of the Annestasis podcast with Kim Heathcott, who has transformed her life and been reborn from a relocation from one city to the next that had everything to do with a new rebirth that produced a book and no telling what all else. So we're glad that you were able to join us. Thank you, friends, for being with us. We look forward to more talks about the Annestasis process and the Annestasis podcast, where life are transformed from relocation. Thank you for being with us, and we will end it here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.